J-E-T-S,
Good job today, man. One at a time, and we'll get the job done. Y'all know what to say. On three. 1, 2, 3.
and the home of the Jets.
Good evening, everybody. Welcome back to Let's Talk Jets. As the preseason is over, we are less than 2 weeks away from a home opener. We got to talk about cuts, potential cuts, upgrades. Mr. Jet Central, we got a lot to talk about, man.
Yeah, man. How are you doing?
I'm doing great, dude. This is my favorite time of year. Well, not favorite time, because it's sad that players are going to lose their jobs and maybe their NFL dreams. But now it's like you get your 53, but then all the roster tinkering, the tough decisions, the debating about what your value is, the position values. I love this kind of stuff, man. This is just because now you really see what the vision is of Muji and Glenn as they move forward.
Right. And you never know what newcomers could be walking through the door.
Yep, 100%. So, the game was, they had their last preseason game, which was kind of a dud, boring as hell, got exciting towards the end. But you had some players that are making decisions very interesting now for the Jets at wide receiver, at returner, special teams, stuff like that. But before we go into that, we'll go over today's injury report where Aaron Glenn shed some light, which is going to impact a lot of things for us, where everybody's like, well, Isaiah Davis and Alan Lazard, they'll put them on IR, this and that. And according to Glenn, they're all going to be healthy for week one. So in terms of roster development, if Lazard's going to be in your wide receiver group, that's another spot taken away from a guy like maybe a Brandon Smith who's showed pretty well. So overall, what was your thoughts on the last preseason game and as we get into the cuts?
Yeah, I think for the most part, we have, for a team that's only projected to win 5, the Vegas over-under is 5.5. We have a lot of positions figured out. We have our left tackle. Well, really, we have the entire offensive line figured out. I know you got the whole Tippmann-Myers competition, whatever, but that is a good problem to have. It's not like we have two, options and we're both looking at, all right, this guy's an F+, this guy's a D-. It's just the lesser of two evils. That's who we're going to go with. No, both guys I think are, good players. Both guys have a lot of positives to their game. So yeah, we have the whole offensive line figured out. We have a wide receiver 1. We have a stacked running back room. We have edge rushers. We have an all-pro defensive tackle. We have an all-pro corner, a pretty damn good slot corner, Michael Carter. A couple of solid linebackers. This team, I think from just as pure names on paper, starting lineup, we're solid. Depth, I think that's where we start having major concerns.
And that's something we talked about the last couple weeks in preseason, where it's like, all right, once you got the second and third string, it got a little bit concerning where it wasn't the physicality you're looking for, the size, performance. And one of the big things we talked about was the defensive line. We're like, man, next to Quinnen Williams, what are they going to do? Rashad Weaver got hurt. Coward got hurt. Like, man, they're dropping like flies. And they go out and make 2 trades. What were your thoughts on the trades, man?
I loved it, man. How about you?
I loved it, dude. The Phillips one caught me off guard. I didn't think that was ever going to happen. Then you saw the money, too. I'm like, you've got to be kidding me, because he's exactly what the doctor ordered for the Jets. What happened? What happened?
We have a quarterback trade. Who is it? Kenny Pickett's getting traded to Raiders. Sorry to cut you off, man. I just didn't know if it was the Jets. I was about to say.
Oh, Kenny Pickett to the Raiders. That means, you have Flacco's going to start, and who the hell? They have Flacco, Shador, Dylan Gabriel. They had too many quarterbacks, so they had to get rid of somebody.
Yeah, dude, but I just didn't know what was going. I know Tyrod is projected to be healthy, but hey, you never know with this time of year, man. Like you just said with Harrison Phillips. Yeah, there you go, Stewie. I saw breaking news: Browns are trading Kenny Pickett to the ... And I'm like, hold on a second, stop the phones, let me see. Interesting, man. By the way, Amari Cooper went to the Raiders as well, but yeah, dude. As far as Harrison Phillips, I love the move. I really love the move. If you're talking about adding a veteran leader at a position of need who's affordable. By the way, the Vikings are taking on some of the salary too, which is pretty sweet. All we're doing is, moving on from a late round pick outside of the pick swap. to upgrade at one of I would probably say it's the number one concern right now of this defense. Can you stop the run? And you're adding someone who's stopped the run. Also, he's pretty versatile, 3-4 guy, 4-3 guy. I like his versatility playing next to Q. What a solid piece to add right before the season starts, man. What a huge boost.
Yeah, and he's like a high character guy, captain guy. So it's like he brings, and you love when Aaron Glenn talks about him, like he's one of us. He plays like one of us. He's meant to be a Jet, the way he carries himself on and off the field, which you love that. You also got to give credit to Muji, man, where he's like, listen, they recognize the hole. And we talked about this, be proactive, not reactive. Like go out and get guys. Remember we talked about this. Don't wait till the day before the regular season starts. If we have a hole and we have a problem. Now they have it. And I was really happy with it, dude. It was a refreshing change. And now I would still, honestly, if there's edge rushers out there, which I know are at premium, I still have concerns about what's behind Jermaine Johnson and Will McDonald, because I think you just want to see more, especially with Rashad Weaver out now.
Yeah, dude, I mean, we were texting about it earlier today. Weaver's done for the year. I didn't even realize that. I thought he was just going on like the 4-game IR. I didn't realize it was a freaking season ender. Yep. But quickly to go back to Phillips, one thing that was really cool was seeing a lot of Vikings fans saying like, what are we doing? What's the point of this? We just got a lot worse. Why are we eating some of the salary if we're getting only a late round pick back in return? This makes no sense. I was getting a lot of support from Minnesota Vikings fans in the comments, basically just saying like, hey, you guys got a really good player. My brother's a Bills fan. He was on the Bills for, to start his career off. He loved them. So I think it's a pretty high floor, safe move for the Jets. And to me, you can't go wrong where you're upgrading at the biggest position of need right now on the defense side of the football, 2 weeks before the season starts. Like that is big time.
Yeah, and the draft compensation is fine. The financial aspect is fine. So you feel really comfortable with it. Now, what are your thoughts on the rumors the Jets may trade Carter Warren? I found that came out of nowhere. I was like, what?
Well, actually, real quick. So you brought up the edge rusher before. I cut you off talking about Phillips before. Yeah, so I'm with you with the edge rushers. I still want to target at least one more guy because, I mean, what are we looking at? Will McDonald for sure starter. Jermaine Johnson for sure starter. But coming off the Achilles, Michael Clemens, Weaver's done for the year. Rookie Tyler Barron. I mean, Brady McGregor maybe.
I mean, he looked good, but I mean, I think once the bright lights come on, is he gonna be a legitimate guy that can give you impact reps? I'm not so sure about that. It seemed like it's a hole.
So what are you kind of thinking there? Are you thinking maybe like waiver claim pickup or potential trade for maybe one of the bigger name guys?
That's a good question, because now we're gonna go into that conversation of like, if you're gonna go for a bigger name guy, what's the name to go for? Would you go for an edge rusher, or do you look at maybe a Jacoby Myers? Like, you got to look at what do you value the most? You know what I mean? Which makes it kind of difficult. Like I like the Phillips addition. Like the defensive line feels okay, but like what would you see now that with Phillips and Mo, what's the most pressing need for the Jets right now? What's the biggest hole in the roster?
I want to say edge rusher because we're dealing with Jermaine Johnson. If Jermaine Johnson was 100, like he's 100% healthy, it sounds, but we all know that the Achilles injury, it takes a while to like fully get back to full strength, full speed. So I don't want to be in a position where it's like, all right, Jermaine, it's you and Will. Please do absolutely everything for us because we can't, rush the passer without you two guys in the lineup. Because if we don't, and I understand that Michael Clemens had a good camp and stuff. That's all positive. And I like Tyler Barron's tape back at Miami. But at the end of the day, I just have to see it on the field in the regular season to really feel comfortable about the depth. I will say this defense does sound like it's going to be blitzing a lot more. So maybe Quincy Williams, maybe Sherwood, maybe
Michael Carter.
Yeah. I think a lot of these guys, Malachi Moore potentially, Andre Sisco off the edge. I think a lot of these guys could have higher pass rushing stats to end the year. If Quincy can get Quincy can get like 6.5 to 7, all of a sudden that's like a big boost. To the defense overall. So maybe the need for that third edge rusher isn't as pressing as it has been in the past couple of years because we just don't blitz or didn't blitz with Ulbrich and Saleh. We did see those numbers kind of move up a little bit with Ulbrich, but at the end of the day, like the defensive like philosophy was like, you got to get home with your front four, and we're dropping a lot of guys back, having everyone face the quarterback. So ideally mobile quarterbacks can't run around and extend plays. But yeah, I want to say edge man. Wide receiver 2 is just staring you right in the face. It's such a big need. Jakobi Meyers requested the trade. I'm sure we're going to talk about that. But what about you? Where do you stand? Wide receiver or edge for you?
Oh man, and this is a good point too. With K dudes, like your biggest hole is behind our starting O line, the depth, O line depth behind that. That's why I thought the Carter Warren rumors were kind of weird. Where I'm like, listen, man, I wouldn't get rid of any tackles at this point, man. It's like I can make a case for safety, to be honest with you. Like I don't, like wide receiver 2, like we haven't really seen what Josh Reynolds is yet. So I'm like, all right, maybe Josh Reynolds, Allen Lazard, Tyler Johnson have enough, but then it's like safety is Cisco and an unproven Malachi Moore and a Tony Adams who's very inconsistent as well. Does that make you feel good? Like I don't know. Like that's if I'm looking for an immediate upgrade, I'd probably go safety, to be honest with you. And we talked about the guy from the Patriots. Like there's so many different names out there, but I'm trying to figure what's the most pressing need. I mean, I don't know. But I mean, again, wide receiver 2. I've been talking wide receiver for the last 3 months, but I'm just kind of having maybe more faith in Josh Reynolds than I do in Tony Adams. That's kind of where I'm looking at it.
Yeah, it's tough. I will say this though, for Jets fans, like we're talking about multiple guys though. Like for example, wide receiver, Alec Pierce, Jakobi Meyers, one of the Green Bay Packers wide receivers, Adam Thielen maybe. Like there's options there. Safety, Kyle Duggar. If he becomes available, like imagine. And I know he had the injury, and I know he's not super cheap. And I also know that he didn't play well after the injury, but I don't want to say, okay, this 29-year-old who had a rough stretch at the end of last season post-injury. By the way, I think it was like a high ankle sprain, and he was trying to play through it.
Yep.
And it just wasn't like, I mean, he looked, in my opinion, pretty good early on in the season. The game against Jacksonville stood out. That week 1 game against the Bengals stood out. Is he the perfect safety? No. Is he great in coverage? No, not really. But I think he's exactly what the Jets need as far as like a cover 1 safety. He can kind of hover over the linebacker unit, keep his eyes on the quarterback, potentially blitz, help out in run support. I think Kyle Duggar makes a lot of sense for this defense. Of course, the question is, what would it take to go get him? Are the Patriots even open to dealing with the Jets? It's an in-division, type of thing, type of trade here. But the point is, it's a conversation. It's not like, 100%. Well, there's no one available, not a single option out there. Edge rusher, right? We've talked about Jadeveon Clowney. Yep. We talked about Zadarius Smith. Like there are some options out there. And also, with the Harrison Phillips trade, I didn't see that coming. You didn't see that coming. Vikings fans, the freaking Minnesota Vikings fan base didn't see that coming. Yeah. So who knows if there's going to be just that random guy that breaks free, and we're talking multiple positions: safety, wideout, edge rusher. Like these are positions where guys could slip free. So, I on one hand, it sounds, I don't know. You never want to say like, oh, I can't wait for cut down day, because guys are losing their jobs, and you never want that. You feel for all these guys. You wish that you could throw all of them on the practice squad. Unfortunately, it's only 16. But on the other hand, it is intriguing to see the different moves that are made, who makes the cut in other destinations. Is there talent that's potentially being freed up that no one really expected for whatever reason? So, yeah, I mean, if you were to ask me a year ago, hey, man, what are your thoughts on Kyle Duggar being the Jets starting safety 2 years from now? I'd be like, what are you talking about? He just signed the extension. He's a really good player. He's in division. No, he's going to be a Patriot for the long haul. But now we're in a position where it's just like, he might not even make the team. So, yeah, crazy stuff happens, man. The NFL is wild.
Yeah, 100%. So going the offensive side of the ball, a lot of things going on where the Jets, they released Adrian Martinez. So as of now, Brady Cook is on the team until maybe tomorrow. But it's like developing your roster. You got to assume the Jets are going to keep 2 quarterbacks. According to Aaron Glenn, Tyrod Taylor will be healthy week 1. Still not practicing, which is just crazy to me. But okay, do you consider with Brady Cook? I like Brady Cook, to be honest with you. I think he's a good guy for the practice squad. He's showing some things where you're like tough, smart. Not the best of arms, but he's a competitor. Like, all right, maybe down the line, he could be something, a quality backup, whatever. Do you go out and look and say, like, just for example, Mike White's out there, McCord's out there, all these guys are out there. Do you consider players like that? Or you're like, you know what? For now, we got Tyrod, we got Justin Fields. Let's not worry about this. You know what I mean? Is that something that you look at maybe after week 1, week 2, without guaranteeing contracts? Like, how do you handle the quarterback position?
Yeah, man. I mean, for me, it really comes down to Tyrod's health. Like, if Tyrod's not practicing today, he's not practicing by Friday. I'm like, you got to bring someone else in. Like, you can't, because even if Tyrod is healthy, I understand he's a veteran, but like, he's missed he's missed all like I don't want to say the entirety of training camp, but like, he dealt with the knee scope before the first preseason game, and that was weeks ago. So, you know, I don't want to write him off or anything like that, but it's just it's tough to have that safe, reliable veteran if that safe, reliable veteran is not there and he's not taking snaps and he's not repping out in this new system. And again, I understand he's a veteran. He could pick it up a lot easier than maybe a rookie or something like that. But yeah, I personally would want the Jets to maybe dip their toe in the waters. What's going on? I don't know. Tommy DeVito. Like, there's just random names that I would maybe pick up the phone and just be a little interested in, right? Sit down with Glenn, sit down with Dink Strand. Hey, out of these guys, maybe present like 4, 5, 6 options. What's your number one option? Who is the guy that you would take on this team? Because just in case, if Tyrod, let's just say, is again still not practicing, and also who's to say that this doesn't happen again in 4 weeks, in 5 weeks? Yeah, he could be healthy now, but what happens if he gets another wear and tear injury 5 weeks from now? And now you all of a sudden are screwed when at one point in time you had a lot of backups out there. As far as Brady, well, you mentioned Kyle McCord. You know, I think a lot of people maybe look at some of these, like, the reality is for these really good teams like the Buffalo Bills, the Chiefs, the Eagles, not every single draft pick always makes it. Like, these are fantastic teams with stars, with depth.
Yep.
They are great. They don't necessarily have room to bring in 7, 8 guys to just load into the roster and kick 7 or 8, out.
Yep.
In the case of like some of these later round picks, I guarantee you Philly's going to try their hardest to get him back on the practice squad. But
no, 100%. But I mean, like, I'm with you though. It's like, listen, I'm not opposed to DeVito. I'm not opposed to Mike White. Like, especially Tyrod's not available, dude. My concern is if Tyrod's not available week 1, it's almost malpractice to have nobody behind Justin Fields. So he's going to stay healthy the whole game. Like, oh, now we're here. Here you go, Brady Cook. Now you're playing. Like, that's ridiculous to me. So I would definitely do that. And, you know, like, you're not, and like Hooker is a guy you talked about throughout with all the offseason, the free agency shows you were talking about him where he could be gone. You know, so quarterback position is really interesting to see how they handle it. You know, again, if Tyrod's not practicing the rest of this week, they get the vacation, then they're, then your regular season's next week. It's like you're basically not practicing at all, dude, which is kind of concerning. Offensive line, you talked about, you kind of feel good. They have some versatility with Tippmann. I saw that Dan Skipper is out with the Lions. Is that a guy that we're talking about depth, pieces, familiarity with the coaching staff? He's a guy I think the Jets would consider, or you think he's just cut and going back to the Lions?
I don't think it would hurt. But also too, right? If we're talking about Dan Skipper, we gotta include Ben Johnson and the Bears in the mix too.
Yep.
A big Skipper guy. But yeah, like, I love the talk about potential additions, of potential upgrades here and there. Tomorrow, what is it? 4:00 tomorrow? Yeah, so it should be a lot of fun. Also, man, like, these, pop-up bits of news, like Kenny Pickett just getting traded. Like, who's to say that the Jets won't be, next up here in one of these? I mean, we've seen Darren Mucci be pretty active. One name at the quarterback position that I find really interesting is DTR.
Yes.
Not saying he's a franchise quarterback, but just, hey, can this guy come in and just be a reliable backup to Justin Fields? You don't really have to change the system around, if at all, going from Field, in the event that Fields gets hurt. Because DTR can move, he can run, so you don't have to just scratch off all your design quarterback runs out of the playbook. You can, like, there's a lot of carryover there from skill sets. So I think if the Jets were to target one of these Eagles or Eagle quarterbacks, I think it would probably be Thompson Robinson.
Yeah, I mean, you got Snoop Huntley, like Hey Dude said. There's a lot of guys out there, man, that would fit the mold of. He's actually a Pro Bowler at one point, but that fit the mold of veteran quarterback, will come here cheap with a lot of experience that can game manage for a game or two if Justin Fields gets banged up. Look, the running back position to me is really interesting because you have the 3, and we kind of assume a lot of us thought Isaiah Davis was going to be hurt, which made kind of fun. But now you have, you may keep 4. because it's like you have, right? I think you're probably going to keep 4. You have the returner, you have the 3 running backs. If Isaiah Davis is healthy, right? And I think Donovan Edwards is going to be the odd man out, and he'll probably make the practice squad.
I agree. I don't really have a fear that Donovan, and who knows, maybe I'm eating my words, but I don't have my fear with Donovan Edwards. Or how should I maybe say this? I'm not worried that he's going to get picked up by another team, because I know there's always that, that inkling from fans like, this guy looked pretty good in preseason. He had a pretty good college career. He looks like he could be a solid NFL player. Do you really want to take the risk and put him on the practice squad, and then the next day he's claimed? It could be an impact player for someone else. I get that fear, but I think for me, when I'm just looking at the running back position right now, I think we talked about this last week. There's so much talent, dude. Like Ollie Gordon, Dolphins, Samson, Cleveland. Like there were a ton of running backs that were drafted. I really don't think that there's a team out there that's looking at Donovan Edwards saying, hey, we can, like, the teams that needed running backs already addressed their needs, in my opinion.
Yep,
I don't think there's a team out there that's looking desperately at the running back position saying, oh man, we really got to upgrade. And it's not just Donovan Edwards. He's the only name out there. Like Cam Akers was just released today from the Saints. So I think Donovan will be on the practice squad this season, along with Brady Cook.
Now, the one interesting player we like a lot is Beck, with a fullback, the hybrid tight end, which I thought he was a lock to make the team, all this. Then he played late in the preseason game, and I'm like, that's really strange. He's still in this game. Are they showcasing him? Is there something else going on here? Because like, there's really no like your starters weren't playing. Why was he in the game? He continued to play. I'm like, that's just strange to me. So I'm like, is there a world where he doesn't make the 53? They kind of like cut him and bring him back or something like that? Because he was one of the first guys Muji signed, and he seems very valuable in a ground and pound out offense. Are we like, am I looking too much into this? Because usually when that happens, it's like there's a reason for it. Like Leonard Taylor played the full game. That seems like, he's probably gonna be out of here. To see Beck play was just so strange to me, dude.
Yeah, I don't know, man. Because Mason Taylor wasn't out there. I'm not sure. I look at Beck right now. Again, one of Muji's first signings here. I believe it was his first one. Positional versatility, tight end or fullback.
I love the player, dude. I do.
Yeah, he was with Muji in Denver. Special teams contributor. Like how much? Like if you're splitting hairs at the tight end position, personally, I want to carry 3, and I think the 3 are going to be Mason Taylor. Well, it sounds like Ruckert's going to make the roster, but I think if I was doing it, no disrespect to Ruckert, but I just feel like I'm getting more out of the other 3. Stone Smart, flash and made plays both in training camp and in preseason. Mason Taylor, he's obviously going to be the starter, and then of course Beck, who I just love the versatility. Like, he's going to bring it on special teams. We can line him up as a blocker. We can line him up as a pass catcher. We can line him up at fullback. With Ruckert, I just don't have that flexibility. And I don't know if he's going to be that impactful piece on special teams that I know Beck will be. So I know Ruckert's the younger player. I know he's the cheaper player, but I just, as much as I wanted it to work out, right? He has the chemistry with Fields, all that stuff. It's great, but it just feels like with every chance, whether it's this regime or the last regime, they've given him a ton of chances, and you're just kind of waiting as a fan, like, when is he going to take it and run with it? We just haven't really seen that production. We haven't seen him take off, unfortunately. I hate to say it. And
especially every training camp report you read or hear about, he's not having a great camp either. He's been very just mid, where it's like, all right, he's here, but you're not really in a showcase training camp where you have a chance to reset your career. He didn't really do it. So
in a new offense too.
Yeah, exactly. He should be like a reborn in this offense. Like, oh, I got a whole new opportunity here to kind of really showcase what I can do. Not really doing it. So I wouldn't be surprised if he's gone. Then the wide receiver position gets really, really interesting because, if we're going by what Aaron Glenn said, like, you give us the best you have and be consistent and show out, you'll find a way on this team. So to me, as of the 53 cuts, which is always subject to change after it, Brandon Smith makes the team. I honestly think he does because he's shown improvement from last year to this year. He's been consistent. He's like, if you're looking for your 5th or 6th receiver, that's got to be the guy. And the other guy, while I like Skinner, is Pritchett, where Pritchett to me is a guy where you're looking at returner. He has like, we were talking about Malachi Corley. Oh, the Yak King. Pritchett's that guy, dude. Give the guy the ball in space and look what he can do with it. He's like a highlight reel where I understand he's undersized, but to me, it's like talented players like that. You find a role for them in your offense. You have them on special teams. They're young, and that's like you take a flyer on that because for me, we know what Gibson is, and I'm not downplaying anybody, discounting anybody, but like I think we kind of know what Gibson brings to the table. If I had a choice now to take a chance on Pritchett and his explosive nature and growing and being, seeing what he could bring to the table as opposed to Gibson, I take that chance, dude. I really do. This is like a rebuild year. Find out get those game breaking talent on the field.
So how many wide receivers are you looking to carry?
This is where Lazard screws me by being healthy because now it just screws my whole plan up. But you figure we didn't go. We go Garrett, Josh Reynolds, Tyler Johnson, 3, right?
Yeah.
Lazard's 4.
By the way, I'm writing down the names here. Potential candidates and stuff like that. So you got Garrett Wilson, you got Lazard, you got
Josh Reynolds,
Smith, Josh Reynolds, you got Ty Johnson.
That's 5.
So that's 5. And I think 6 minimum.
Yep. Brandon
7.
Smith's got to be 6.
So you would take Brandon Smith over Pritchett.
I would, but I wouldn't like it. And then I'd have to make a case for Pritchett as a returner or find some kind of role. Like to me, it's like, this is where you're like your roster gymnastics now. It's like, you know what? It means cutting Ruckert. Okay. Like I just, I want Pritchett to find a way on this team, dude. I really do.
What about Skinner?
Man, I like him. I like him a lot, dude. And I'm hoping he goes to be like a practice squad candidate and maybe let him develop and grow and maybe it could be something for next year. But I like him though. The thing is like, this is only what we've seen, but then you look all across the NFL, other players are becoming available, like better wide receivers. It gets more interesting. But to me, it's Pritchett has that knack of just being like, all right, that's a game breaker. That's something that we haven't seen with the Jets. We've wanted to have, but we haven't seen. That could be the kind of a novelty, so that's, as opposed to Gibson and everybody else. But how many receivers are you keeping? I'm in theory 6 is probably the right number, but I'd try to find a way to maneuver around that.
Yeah, and to make things even more complicated, what if we do go out and target a wide receiver too? Who's going to be the first guy out?
Well, that's the thing, and that's the next question because like we both, you sent me the tweet with Jacoby Myers, and I'm like, well, that's a guy that you can't dispute that talent there. That's a guy. It's an instant upgrade. It'll be it's huge. He's only 28 years old, I think, right? He's still young.
Yes. Yep.
The contract's an issue, but here's 2 questions for you because this is really interesting to me. It's sort of a need. It's definitely a need, but what would be the compensation to get him and how much would you pay him?
I think that, what's funny is I think as far as the contract, he is coming off the best season of his career. I think he had over 1,000 receiving yards, only 4 TDs, but overall the best season of his career. With shaky quarterback play. I think he's probably asking right now for 15 to 16.
Mm-hmm.
I don't see a situation where he gets 20 mil a year.
No.
2-year 40. I mean, he's coming off a 3-year $33 million deal. You're looking at some of these wide receivers, what they're going for, like what George Pickens went for, what Jerry Jeudy went for. Previously, it's really not much, man. It's really like the trade compensation is not that high. I think the highest the Jets should go, is a 4th because good old Hassan Reddick trade. We don't have that 3rd round pick. So if we don't have the 3rd, I'm not trading a 2. I'm definitely not trading a 1 for anybody. Unless you're talking about like, I don't know, some crazy Micah Parsons thing, but realistically, I'm not trading anything higher than a 4th round pick, but the 4th round pick is always interesting because it's like, that's the late 90s, early 100s. Like you could have pick 99, you could have pick 102. That could potentially be a starting player for you.
But
draft classes.
But what's the value that he's bringing to the offense this year and helping Justin Fields develop and helping develop your offense too? And that to me is more paramount than anything else. Where I understand the draft compensation can be kind of prohibitive. But like, I don't want this offense held back by a lack of talent. And you bring in Myers, like, listen, like we talk about it. You want to have reliable pass catchers, reliable route runners where Justin Fields knows where they're going to be. The ball goes there. He addresses that.
So I want Jacoby. This is me just playing devil's advocate, for the sake of having the conversation. What you can do if you're Darren Muji, he's in year 1. There's really no point for him to rush. His job is safe. So he could say, okay, well, you can request the trade. Vegas doesn't have any plans to trade you right now. That
Mhm.
could change because they just signed freaking Amari Cooper. I think that's telling.
Well, I was just gonna say that.
Yeah, and they also just moved on from a 5th round pick to go get Kenny Pickett. So now could they potentially replace that draft pick? And they're coming out tomorrow morning saying, okay, well, we have our wide receiver in Amari Cooper. We traded Jacoby away. We traded away a draft pick, but we got that pick back for the Jacoby Myers trade. And we now have a backup quarterback. Granted, the caliber of player, that's obviously debatable, but if you're Darren Muji here, you could, sit there and say, well, the time or the clock isn't really ticking for me. I'll just wait till free agency next season.
I hate that.
Whether it's Jacob, hey, I hate it. I'm with you.
I hate it. Don't like it.
Your point about who makes the bigger impact? Jacoby Myers, the 4th round pick. The Jets could, if they wait a year, could have both.
Yeah, but you can't preach competition all about winning and have an opportunity to upgrade your receiver position and don't do it. Like, we'll wait till next year. You want to win this year. You want to compete this year, and adding a play like that to an offense that has a lot of question marks at wide receiver makes a lot of sense. I'm not saying he's friggin', he's not one of the best receivers in football, but he's valuable, dude. And right now you just need proven guys, legitimate guys to take the pressure off Garrett Wilson. I think he can do that.
One argument that I've seen, and I agree with you, one argument that I've seen is like, hey, let's not worry about wide receiver 2 because, of course, we're going to be this running offense. And, what's the likelihood of the wide receiver 2 really seeing a lot of volume? Is it worth trading away a mid-round pick and paying this guy a lot of money? Because it might not really work with Fields. He might not be the best pass catcher or best passer, excuse me. But I think these moves have got to be looked at long term. They're not just vacuum moves. If you get Alec Pierce, if you get, I don't know, names Quentin Johnson from the Chargers, if you get Jacoby Myers, you're going to extend these guys. Hopefully, Darren Muji extends these guys that need to be extended, and we don't have another Joe Douglas, Hassan Reddick situation. And it's now all of a sudden this 1 year sort of conversation, because if Fields, let's just say he bombs out, he's not the quarterback of the future. Okay, well, whoever we're bringing in next year, 1st round pick or whoever, an experienced vet, they're going to be walking in with a wide receiver 1 and a wide receiver 2.
And that's the whole thing. Like, that argument annoys the hell out of me because, like, well, Justin Fields can't do this. This isn't really about Justin Fields this year. It's about developing your offense, developing your team. If you build it the best you can, if he's not your quarterback, next year's quarterback is in a much better situation. We already have 2 guys that have been in the system for a year already. So that means Myers is here. He's now learned 1 year of Engstrand's offense, different quarterback, but fine. Now it's like, to me, it's like, I'm not worried about, Fields can't pass, don't get a receiver. No, get the receiver. And if you got to go to Tyra, but you're assembling pieces right now. And the other thing was like, well, we don't need wide receiver 2 because we're running the ball. Here's a news flash. Defenses know that. They're going to sell out to stop the run, and they're going to try to take Garrett Wilson away. So it's going to either be Breece Hall in the backfield or Mason Taylor. Why not have another legitimate option to offset that too? It's a chess game, right? You got to have more pieces to your puzzle. And to me, I'm not saying Myers is the end-all, be-all, but it's the point of, if you want to add that receiver, make aggressive trade, I'm not opposed to it at all, because this is where you get aggressive. And the thing is, like you talked about, like, there's no timeline for this. Is their first year here, Muji and Glenn. Now's the time to take some chances. Take these chances now while you can, with the cap space, with all the flexibility as you're trying to identify yourself.
Right. I agree with you. I'm just saying that I don't think Muji's sitting there panicking, like, oh my God, I got to make this move. Do we really
be aggressive though? I'm not saying panic, but what you do is you assess what you have and you identify chances to upgrade. There's definitely some of them out there. Now it's a matter of what your cost. It's like the cost ratio. It's risk reward analysis. And I think if it comes to the offense, dude, it's to me it's important. It is, because you feel like there's just not enough there right now. Even a tight end, dude. Like, it's like we're hoping. Like, I want to remove hope in the equation and have more like just consistency added.
Right, concrete answers.
Right.
I think God, dude, adding a wide receiver 2 would just do so much for this team. Whether it's help opening up the running attack, whether it's not necessarily putting fear in the minds of defensive coordinators. I don't think if the Jets signed or traded for Jacoby Myers, like, Mike Tomlin's like, having a panic attack tonight saying like, oh my God, what do we do now?
Right.
But I do think it's just like, you know what? We got to keep an eye on this guy. He just put up over 1,000 receiving yards in a shaky offense with a shaky quarterback situation.
Yeah.
Not to mention, too, by the way, the Jets passing game coordinator, Scott Turner, was in Oakland in Las Vegas with him. So, he's worked with him. He's seen how he's worked and obviously was a part of that staff. So if it was me, I think I would pull the trigger. Nothing higher than a 4th round pick, though, for me. I'm not moving up from the 2nd round pick. No way. So, and that goes with really any of these players. Alec Pierce, I think, is a 2nd round pick is too much. This to me is not the draft class where I want to be dumping draft capital. This is a really good draft class, and I don't necessarily want to be in a position where we're doing draft, prep and everything. And the Jets have like 2 picks in the top 150. You know what I mean?
So now we're going to say two quarterbacks. We're saying 4 running backs, right? And you're doing 6 receivers, right?
Yeah. The whole Lazard IR thing just throws.
Brutal, dude. That just pissed me off. I'm like, and like they keep talking about his blocking, which I know he's a very good blocker. They want to run the ball, so it makes a lot of sense. But I'm like, I just want to find a way to get him out of here. So if you're going to do it, you're going to say 6 receivers, which means Pritchett's going to be out. Then,
so that's not necessary for me. I agree. 2 quarterbacks. I'm going to roll 4 running backs with Onwenu as the return guy.
Yep.
No, and again, no disrespect to Donovan Edwards. I love him, but I just feel like Kane has shown more this preseason, special teams and on offense. I think. And correct me if I'm wrong, I think he's also been one of the better return men in football. I think he's literally been an All-Pro before. I didn't really know too much about him, but 2 QBs, 4 running backs. I think I'm rolling 3 tight ends,
including Beck as a tight end.
Yes, and I'm then rolling 7 wide receivers.
Oh, dude, sign me up. Wait, the 7th one's Pritchett?
Yes.
See, I'm done. So wait, and your 3 tight ends would be what? Taylor, Smart, and then Beck.
Yep, and then the 7 receivers would be Garrett, Tyler. No, in no specific order. Garrett, Tyler Johnson, Josh Reynolds, Arian Smith, Pritchett, Brandon Smith, and then Lazard.
Yeah, I'd go with that. I would. And again, this is subject to change. Like once everybody makes their cuts, things can be moved around a lot. Where they can upgrade from Brandon Smith, but I think as of right now, he's definitely earned a role with this team. I think Pritchett did as well, just based on his resources.
Because it's sorry to cut you off, because it's like when we have so much of an unknown, like so much of a question mark at one position, and you have multiple young guys like showing life in preseason, showing life in training camp. I mean, Brandon Smith was a show out last year. We talked about it. Aaron Rodgers was talking about him. For a position right now with a major question mark, I don't want to just roll with the status quo. All right, let's just put Lazard out there. If we have some young guys that defenses don't have tape on, they don't necessarily know how to defend, I think I would more the merrier, in other words, at the weird, weak position. Is how I'm looking at it.
Especially when Aaron Glenn said, listen, it's not about your age, it's not about your contract, it's about your ability and what you've shown in camp. If he really goes by that mantra, some of these guys should be making the team based on just what they've shown in practice and on game day. So can you see any surprise cuts on offense? I think Ruckert wouldn't be a surprise. I think we kind of expected at this point. Could you see any other surprises or wow, didn't see that one come? Because the Jets haven't leaked anything. We're guessing the report. Everybody's guessing at this point.
I can't really see one. I mean, Corley, I feel like it's just obvious at this point.
Yeah.
This feels like all signs are pointing in that direction, unfortunately. I mean, the running backs I think are set. The offensive line is set. I think they're going to keep Josh Myers, obviously. Offensively, no, I think it's pretty status quo.
All right, so then you go to defensive side of the ball. We talked about the two trades, which made a lot of sense. So defensive line's a little bit improved. I think Michael Clemens isn't going anywhere. I think he's found the role as of now. I mean, they like his intensity, I guess. I'm not really sure. But the Leonard Taylor thing to me was surprising because he had that mysterious tweet where it's in God's hands now. He played the full game, which is all right, usually when you're playing a full game, it's the team giving you a chance to showcase your ability for another team, not your own team. It's for somebody else. Listen, man, We like you a lot. You're not making this team. You can play as much as you want. Do the best you can because you're probably not going to be here. And that to me is unfortunate. I like Leonard Taylor a lot. I thought he showed some really good things last year. He put on size, and it's like I thought he could make an impact, but it seems like he's an odd man out now for some reason.
Well, yeah. So, and by the way, I'm not, texting or doing something weird. I'm just writing down names for all these different positions here. So, if we just want to break down the D line, we got the starting group: Quinnen,
Yep.
Jermaine, Will McDonald, Harrison Phillips.
Mm-hmm.
For backups, and by the way, K-Dude's in the chat. He hit me up on Twitter asking about the 53-man roster prediction. So I filmed that video. I didn't have the time today to edit it, and I don't think I'm going to upload it just because, cut down days tomorrow and everything. So I don't want it to seem like it's rushed or anything. But in that video, I had Leonard Taylor making the cut, but you got the four starters again: Will McDonald, Jermaine, Harrison Phillips, Quinnen. Behind them for depth, you have Jay Tufele, who I think should make this roster.
Definitely make the team. Yep.
You got Clemens. You got Briggs, newcomer from Cleveland.
Yep.
You got
Barron.
Well, I thought Leonard Taylor, so I'm just gonna write his name down.
Yeah.
Who did you just mention?
Barron.
Yep, Tyler Barron. And who am I missing here? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. So that's 9 defensive linemen. And obviously the whole that edge rusher. But if it seems like Leonard Taylor's not going to make the team, who's going to be in replace? I don't see a defensive led team. Steve Wilkes in the mix. Glenn, we know what took place last season with the injuries. I don't see him rolling out 8 freaking defensive linemen.
Watts. Yeah, I don't think Watts is going to make it. Braden McGregor.
I don't know if McGregor makes it.
Nope. And again, I like Leonard Taylor. I like what he brings to the table, but it's just usually in games like that, it's usually a telltale sign that the guy's not going to be here. It just seemed kind of weird. But it's there. It's the depth. It gets kind of we talked about the depth, dude. It's not exactly encouraging. You that linebacker, you're kind of like, all right, it's not. It seems like there's a work in progress there a little bit.
Yeah. So I mean, really, out of those 9, do you feel comfortable with it? Who's that next man up if Leonard Taylor doesn't make the team? And I mean, Peyton Page, I have on the practice squad.
I like Peyton Page.
Let me see. I wrote down the full practice squad too somewhere.
Peyton Page he's got a sack every week. I think he's just learning. He's finding his way, but he's probably a practice squad guy.
Yeah. So let's see. I have my practice squad prediction pulled up. I had it Brady Cook, Dean Clark, Brady McGregor, Peyton Page, Skinner, Cole Laveau, Jamin Davis, Eric Watts, Leander, the former German guard, Kingsley Johnson, Jamarcus Weston. Who else? Did I say Brady McGregor?
Yeah.
Peyton Page, did I say him?
Mm-hmm.
Okay, yeah. So I came up with 13. I know it's 16, but again, didn't have time to finish the whole thing. But yeah, I just don't know. I unless they're keeping one of these spots open, or they're really eyeing some of these edge rushers. But I just don't know. I think those are the 9. That's the 9 I would roll with.
So then, what linebackers are you keeping then?
I think I would keep 4. I would go Sherwood, Quincy, McCray Ball, Mawaga.
So Zaire Barnes isn't making it. He's out.
Oh yeah, he was on my practice squad too.
That's the guy. Yeah, he's an interesting player, but he's just. I think he's just maybe another year. He has potential, man. It just seems like it's not coming together for him. I was kind of hoping it would with Aaron Glenn, but it really hasn't. So you're just keeping 4 lines. So yeah, you have 9 and 4. So you have 9 linemen, right? And then 4 linebackers.
Yeah.
Okay. Then corners gets interesting too. Now, how many corners are you keeping? Do you think Stiggers is not enough to keep the job to make the team or no?
It's tough. I mean, so you got your starting 3. You got Gardner. I think I would roll probably 6. You got Gardner, Michael Carter, Brandon Stevens, Azareye'h Thomas.
4.
Yeah, you'd probably have to go Quantez. I still like Quantez. I still think he's going into year 2, and we saw what he did in the in the CFL. Yeah. Kind of a gritty player. I know he's had some shaky moments this preseason, but I don't know. I think
Do you
you know, for
do you
DBs.
consider Bernard Converse a safety or a corner?
Corner. That's where he's been playing.
Because he's
And
like,
I think he's probably that either that fifth or sixth guy, I would imagine.
I think he makes the team, dude. I like him. Jarius Monroe's an interesting player too, but I think he's probably gonna be a practice squad guy. He's got great
See,
range.
I
dude.
think he makes the team.
Really.
I mean, if the Jets want to carry 4 safeties. Well,
Well,
actually,
Isaiah Oliver though.
Isaiah Oliver. Yeah, he did the restructure.
Yep.
That's right. Because my initial thought was Cisco, Adams, Moore, Monroe. But yeah, with Oliver, I guess it kind of throws. And then also Dean Clark on the practice squad, who
I like him too.
I was pleasantly surprised with how he performed in preseason. But
Like the last 2 weeks,
Dude,
like the safeties really stuck out. It was like Monroe, Clark, JBC. They're all like, all right, these guys. But it's like, all right, and they're versatile too. Like a lot of like JBC is really versatile. But I'm guessing Monroe probably doesn't make it though, because they're really high on Isaiah Oliver.
yeah, dude, I like Monroe a lot, man. He plays so hard, and he was such a beast at Tulane, and he was actually a Joe Douglas guy. He was brought in last draft cycle, and what was cool about him was he was a really, really good player at corner in college, and then it was Saleh's idea, let's move him over to safety, and he started making plays there, and obviously impressed. Was on the practice squad a year ago. That's someone who I definitely want to keep.
Now, could any of these guys make Tony Adams expendable, or do you think Tony Adams is a lock?
It's interesting because Cisco's not going anywhere, Moore's not going anywhere.
Mhm.
Oliver restructured his deal, so kind of same deal with Lazard. I don't think he's going to get cut. So yeah, that second, the starting strong safety, that feels like just such a position to upgrade. And if they do upgrade, it seems like they would move on from Adams over one of the young guys.
Yeah, I think so too.
That's
I think
my
Adams
guess.
is the job, man. Even like last week's game or just this past weekend, these safeties are flying around, man. It was like really encouraging to see like they're kind of ball hawking. They're good, pretty good coverage. Got range, which Jets always needed that, and they have some thump to them too. So Monroe, I like. It's interesting though. Like the secondary is kind of interesting to me. I'm not really sure how I want to handle that, especially with Tony Adams. And like, so now if you had to say a surprise cut on defense, like I don't think we all kind of assumed Clemens at some point. I think he's safe. I think he's safe for now. What could be the surprise cut?
I mean, I guess based off of the conversation we just had, Leonard Taylor, I would actually be really surprised if Leonard Taylor's cut.
Yeah, and I don't want to see that, but I think that's kind of where it's headed to.
I just don't know what the other. I mean, I understand not wanting to roll that many defensive tackles out. Hugh, Harrison, Briggs, Tufele, Taylor, 5.
Yeah.
Peyton Page, I definitely want on the practice squad too. I think he's looked pretty good, but I understand it. But damn, dude, like I don't know. Like if Leonard Taylor's roster spot goes to like Ruckert or something like that, or we're like deep at a certain position, and that last player is not really seeing the field or anything. I don't know, because Leonard Taylor is someone who I could easily see being claimed.
Yeah,
because
100%.
it's tough with these second-year guys, right? Because they have NFL tape. So if like you're a coach and like you're just looking at like Monroe's kind of in the same boat where you like there's just more knowledge, there's more tape on these guys to where it's like, okay, we know who they are a little bit, we know kind of what their strengths or weaknesses are, who will fit, who won't fit. I don't know, with the rookies, like you're never really like, for example, Philly's not going to waive Kyle McCord and then bring in another rookie quarterback, right? Typically like you want to see your teams keep their own rookies, but it's like those second year guys who are the sophomores that aren't taking that step. We might want to part ways with them and bring in other sophomores from other teams that we've seen maybe pop up in the regular season, seen pop up in the preseason, guys that have stood out. And Monroe and Leonard Taylor both check those boxes.
And Malachi Moore is definitely coming on as well, man. Like he's like, as the preseason played out, he looks a lot more comfortable, some big hits, a couple of missed tackles, but he's definitely making an impact. I guess we didn't, dude, I think you're right. I don't think we discussed offensive line, especially with that Carter Warren rumor that was out there, like, oh, the Jets could try to trade him. How many offensive linemen?
See that.
Yeah, it was a few days ago. I was like, what? Of all the guys we're talking about, we're going to trade him? Like, what? Just so random. But how many offensive linemen? You have your starters. Myers makes
I always
it.
like. Sorry, say that again.
No, say obviously Myers. You have all your 5 starters plus Myers is definitely going to make it. Then
I always like to roll deep at offensive line. I want to keep as many guys that I feel comfortable with as possible because I don't want to have an injury and then panic once the regular season hits, forced into overpaying for a trade, or you're just relying on, someone that was just signed. So for me, nine guys.
makes sense. That definitely makes sense.
Yeah, I mean, the starting 5's locked in, which is cool. But then behind them, I like Xavier Newman, guard, center, flexibility. You got to imagine Okorafor is going to be making the squad. I'm going to say Max Mitchell.
Oof.
Or Carter Warren. I mean, it's really
Yeah.
you're going to need another backup tackle.
It's probably Mitchell over Warren, you would guess.
Yeah, I mean that's just kind of, I guess, coach's preference at that point because
Or
both guys are in a similar boat.
Or Dan Skipper.
Yeah, or Dan Skipper.
Oh, this is a good point too. But I think we've heard all about Coward too.
Oh yes, that's who. Yep.
He's been hurt.
So in that video, I had him on IR. So, man, that's good call. So maybe that's why Leonard Taylor, if he's healthy, you're not going to keep 60 tackles.
Yeah. And just so everybody knows too, like tomorrow night we'll be on Ian's channel reacting to all the cuts. We'll do, because the cuts are all going to happen. And 7 o'clock tomorrow night, we'll be going over all just reacting to what actually happened based on our guessing tonight, which is always fun. The other thing to remember is that once they make the final 53, that's not like in concrete. It's subject to change over the next 4 or 5 days anyway, where there's a lot of maneuvering around, coming and going and stuff like that. Like the guarantee contracts after week 1. So there's a lot of things that change, but there's some really interesting decisions, man. And then special teams too, talking about the returners where, I'd like to see Pritchard get a job. That's like Gibson could be out. So it's interesting to see how they handle that. They go for like the more experienced guy, or they go for like the rookie, or like a young guy.
Yeah. And another point here that's relevant is the Jets are sitting right now in seventh for the waiver claim. So, if you look at the teams that are sitting in front of us, let's just actually get those teams exactly. So we have it, because at that point we can start talking about team needs, right? So for example, say pick a position of need, like edge rusher, for example.
Yep.
Like you're looking at, Tennessee, Jacksonville, or I think it would be Tennessee, Cleveland, Giants, Patriots, Jacksonville, Raiders, Jets.
Yep.
So, out of those teams, it's like you could cross the Giants off. They're not going to be targeting edge rushers. It's like, okay, cool. Cleveland Browns, they're probably not going to be targeting edge rushers. Awesome. Raiders, probably the same boat. So it's like once you or like maybe if you're thinking of a certain player that you want, take your pick on whoever. Maybe it's like a young guy on the roster bubble. I've seen Rich Cimini talk about Tyler Scott from Chicago because of the Fields experience, and then the Bears are deep at wide receiver. If you want to just come up with a name, just tonight, whatever, you just look at those first 6 teams and just ask the question, okay, does this guy make sense for Tennessee? Does he make sense for Jacksonville? Yeah. And also too, those teams in Jacksonville and not Jacksonville, Cleveland. I'm getting the trade up mixed up. Tennessee and Cleveland up at the top. Whenever you're sitting there in that top 2 to 3, you don't want to be putting in tons of waiver claims because you don't know who's going to be released like an hour later.
Yeah.
So like say someone you really like gets released, you're probably going to do it. And then second guy, like let's just say Tennessee, like you put in a waiver claim, okay, he's ours. But then an hour later, someone else that you really like gets put on waivers. And it's just like, okay, well, let's go get him. That third player, you might really like him, but you just picked up 2, which means 2 guys off of your 53 that you just came up with. You now have to put them on the practice squad or outright release. So how many waiver claims do these teams actually do? Probably only 1 to 2. Once you start getting into 3 to 4, you're basically just saying like our team needs a lot of work.
Yeah, and that's a really good point. But that was one of the things that used to piss me off about Joe Douglas, though, where they seem very arrogant about their roster. We're like, no, we're good. No claims, no this, no that. I'm like, dude, we're not like maybe last year's team you felt a little more comfortable because they're more established with veterans and Aaron Rodgers, all this other stuff. Like this team right now to me is a complete work in progress where I make moves. I do a lot of manipulating the roster here because you can, you should, because there's holes, dude. There's to me, there's legitimate areas where you can upgrade it and not being, you're not going to find 22 all-stars. You know, like I understand that, but there's positions where you're like, man, I don't feel comfortable at all with this. And I think that's probably differs in years past, right? Because doesn't it seem like, say, like last year, the tight end position, all right, you have Conklin, you feel okay with that, and like maybe you thought better of Ruckert. Mason Taylor is while we love him, is completely unproven in the NFL. So you have a rookie out there saying, go figure it out, and we trust you to be maybe our third receiver on the team. We're like, okay, can you be a consistent blocker? Can you do this? It's like I'd like to have more to not put so much pressure on a young player to have to perform at a high level.
Yeah, I mean, we've heard Glenn say that he likes and prefers to play the young players, and that's actually what we saw in Detroit. I think a big reason why a lot of these players are just developing like crazy, specifically on defense. I mean, Aiden Hutchinson was going to be fine no matter what, but you know, guys like Brian Branch and Anzalone at linebacker, Kirby Joseph. I think it's because of like Aaron Glenn put a lot of responsibilities on their plate and just said, "Hey, I'm going to stick with you guys no matter what happens." And we're going to roll. So Aleem McNeil is another one, D tackle. Yeah. So, you know, obviously it's not a perfect defense, but you kind of feel like, okay, if it works so well in Detroit, and also it worked well in New Orleans as well, it's probably going to trickle in over here as well. But I'm really happy with the additions that we've made so far. You know, a couple days ago, we were sitting at this and looking at the roster saying D tackle is thin. How are we going to stop the run? Now it's like D tackle. I would say it's a strength, especially if Cowart's healthy.
Yep. Well, that was my next question for you. If you look at the roster as of today, like assuming what we think is going to be the 53, what would you consider the strength of this roster? Is it the offensive line? Is it the defensive line? Like, where do you think, or is it like the running back group? Like, what's your strength?
Yeah, run game for me.
The running backs,
run game and corner.
You like the corner?
What about you? Yeah.
Yeah, I'm gonna think the offensive line. I think I just have a lot of faith in that they're gonna be just nasty and physical. Now, the one thing I will say is Membu could be a work in progress too, man, where you're seeing some things like, all right, he's got a long way to go. Not a long way to go, but he's gonna probably require some help, and he could struggle early on. And that's fine, as long as your offensive coordinator recognizes that and gives him help. Don't put him on the island, let him get roasted all day long and lose his confidence and struggle. Like, he may require some help and some attention early on as he gets used to the NFL.
Yeah, look at that week 1 matchup. It's TJ Watt.
But that's what I'm saying. Like you saw, like he played him in the preseason this last week. Like, all right, he had 2 penalties. I think one was warranted, the other one wasn't. So the false start was probably the guard. It wasn't him. But you know, he's a guy that you look at the offensive line. We have a lot of confidence in it. But that right side could be a little bit sketchy early on. Give him probably 6 to 8 games to get used to it and kind of get the flow of the NFL and kind of build up steam. And then maybe he'll kind of like solidify his spot.
Yeah, dude. I mean, at the end of the day, Armand Membu, you know, I think some people had him as the best tackle in the class. Depends on kind of how you feel about the whole Will Campbell arm length discussion and debate. Some people had him as the second best tackle, but it was really rare to see him ranked 4th, 5th, even 3rd. It was either like 1 or 2 on most people's boards. But with that said, dude, literally every tackle, like I get that the conversation last season was around, or last draft cycle was around the quarterback. Like Cam Ward would be QB 6 in last year's draft class. Yeah. Offensive line, it was similar, man. Like Olu as a prospect, better than everyone.
Yep.
JC Latham, better than everyone. You know, Joe Alt, better than everyone. So just because, top 10 pick, great, second best tackle in the class, whatever. Like, you got to look at these guys as prospects, like almost like in a total value, like out of a scale of 100, where do they stack up to guys in previous classes and also the future guys coming out. Obviously, a full college season ahead of us, which I'm pumped about, man. I know Notre Dame has a big week 1 game against Miami.
Yep.
Yeah, so that's gonna be a lot of fun. Yeah, Miami has some freaking the trenches of the Hurricanes are crazy, but yeah, I think Membu's probably gonna have some ups and downs early on, but with him, I don't want to panic. I think really just the overall experience, the reps are going to be really important for him.
Yeah, no, like I say, like, he's got a world of talent. I'm just thinking everybody's saying, oh, Jets offensive line's gonna be like the anchor of the team, which is great. I just think early on, especially with the defenses they're playing the first couple of weeks too, like they're gonna get tested trial by fire. So were there any cuts you were surprised by in the first wave? Davis was a surprise to me. That I definitely didn't expect that. But other than that, Martinez, I like Cook better. I think the surprises are all going to come tomorrow.
See, I'm not really expecting a lot of surprises. I wasn't really blown away by any. I mean, I saw a lot of people talking about Jamin Davis, but I think McCray Ball won the job.
Yeah,
because you're not going to keep 6 linebackers,
Yeah,
and you're not going to cut the rookie that you just drafted.
Zaire Barnes is interesting if he makes it or not. I like Barnes. I just
good call. Yeah,
that's an interesting player. Other than that, I think the surprises will be tomorrow. I think right now it's like going flow. They're trying to see where, working the trade wire. Like you see all the trades going down in the NFL, which is crazy. And, and then just could be, I just hope they're aggressive, dude. If they find guys they like, they just make moves and they don't, you know what I mean? Just don't stand pat. Don't worry about feelings. Just worry about getting talent.
Yeah. And that's what we've seen so far. I think, with Briggs and Harrison.
And the other guy that a lot of people are trying to talk about is was it Marcus Weston too, as a special teams guy. Based on what we talked about tonight and the kind of the linebackers you want to keep, defensive linemen, he's truly a special teams contributor. Would he have to add more to the defense to actually make the team? Because I don't think. I mean, I know that everybody likes his raw ability, but is that enough to make the team?
It's kind of funny. This is like the opposite of the Denzel Mims, Malachi Corley thing, where it's just like you got to play special teams to make to be an impactful guy. Yeah. Now it's like, oh no, you got to do something else outside of special teams. Honestly, I think if I was Glenn, I would probably say to him, because Weston's played on both offense and defense back in college, but he was that special teams ace. If I'm Glenn, I'm going to Chris Banjo and I'm saying, hey man, like, what's your do or die? What's your take on this guy?
Yeah.
Is he good? We'll find a way to keep him on if he's that good on special teams. We'll find a way. Yeah. We'll keep him on and make it work. But if not, if you think he needs a little bit of development, practice squad. But if he's amazing, then
I'll tell you one thing. The one thing I liked about watching Banjo, the last 2 preseason games, the attention to detail and the energy he brings to the sideline. But when players walk off the field, he is literally walking over with them and talking to them. And you see a lot of position coaches with the Jets do that, which in years past, something like that usually happened. But it's like the attention to detail and the immediate reaction to coaching is very quick with the Jets, man. Like you see them, like the players are walking off. You see the coach like walking down the sideline trying to find them. Like, all right, let's figure out what you did wrong here and correct it and move back. And that's something that I like a lot because that's something I think a young team needs, man, especially when you're doing all these new installs.
Yeah, 100. I love how hands-on the coaching staff is.
And
I think Charles is. I think he's on IR.
He's still hurt, right?
Yeah.
And I'm not man. I'm not opposed to Mike White. I love Mike White. I wouldn't bother me one bit. But what are you gonna do with him? Like you're not gonna release Tyrod, right? Unless Tyrod goes on the IR or something. Mike White, you're not gonna find a role for him.
Yeah, I don't know. I like Mike White a lot, but and also too, man. Just being honest, he doesn't look like the same player.
Yeah, he doesn't.
Like I was watching a lot of the Bills preseason with my brother, and he just kind of looked a little slower overall, slower processing, slower moving. The release is taking like just a half second, like that, just that extra split second. It just feels like everything. He just is looking older, I guess would be the better way to say it. But I still love him, man. I still like him.
This is a excellent comparison. Darren Sproles for Pritchett. I used to love Darren Sproles, dude. He was just electric. Pritchett has ability, man. Like that's a guy I like to find a way to make the team because you see what he can do, especially in space. He's just so small. He's like 175 pounds. He's really light.
Yeah, and he could be the team's primary returner. Although I think Kane has done a really good job in that aspect as well. Special teams, man. Like McNamara as a punter, Nick Folk as a kicker.
Yeah.
I think we're punt coverage. I think everything has been really, really impressive. Malachi Moore flying downhill on punt coverage. Dude, special teams lost us, I want to say, at least 2 to 3 games last year. Just purely off special teams.
Yep.
if that could be a strength as opposed to a weakness, that could literally win us a game or two. Fields is rocky, the defense is it's shaky early on, but our special teams is so strong. All of a sudden, making kicks is one thing, making extra points, right? That should be assumed. But like if the punt coverage is so damn good,
Yeah.
All of a sudden this offense has to maybe go 75 yards as opposed to 50 yards with a bad punt or a really good kickoff, a really good punt return or something like that. Just winning those battles, winning field possession, I think is really important. Pitting teams back.
No, you can see the blueprint. We've talked about it for the last 2 months, man. Great defense, fundamentally sound on offense, not a lot of turnovers, great special teams. You'll be in every game and have Justin Fields make 2 to 3 good throws, and you have a chance to win. And that's what I think you're hoping for, especially week one, dude. Week one has the recipe of like a hard-nosed, ugly, physical football game where it's like 13-10, man. Like you can see where it's going to be like. It's just going to be like whoever makes the big mistakes probably will lose the game, in my world at least. So the Jets are built that way, and now you see how they're going to figure out the rest of this roster and move on. And it's like it's interesting to see. Like it seems like a lot of fans, based on the way Muji's handling himself, have a little more faith in the front office now. Like, all right, these moves make sense. We understand it. You figure you got Sauce done, you got Garrett done, you brought back Sherwood. None of the contracts are ridiculous. Went through the draft. Everybody pretty much agreed with the draft kind of process minus Arian Smith. And then you look at the trades they made in the last couple of days for the defensive tackles. It seems like fans are okay with Muji's approach so far and how he's handling this roster.
Yeah, I'm loving it. He's attacking positions of need. We're not trading away major draft capital. We're not risking like tons of future draft assets as well. Every move to me has been smart.
Yeah. So I guess do you have any final bold predictions for the roster cuts? Anything that's gonna be like, wow, this is, or you just think we're.
Yeah, not really. I'm just a little concerned with this edge position, man. Like outside of, because if Clemens is your edge 3 to start the year off, like post draft, post free agency, post waiver claim, I just don't know how I feel about that. Assuming he looks the same that we've seen, over these past couple seasons. Yeah, I like Jared Ivey. He was a beast at Ole Miss.
Yeah, and I like the way Aaron Glenn's handling all this as well, man. So. The other thing too, he has his fingerprints all over this roster too. Like he speaks in depth about every player when they ask him in a press conference, whoever it is, Pritchett or Skinner or whatever else. So it's gonna be tomorrow's gonna be interesting, man. It's so damn interesting. So like I said, we'll be on Ian's channel tomorrow, 7 o'clock, recapping all the cuts and everything else, which will be fun. And go from there, man. This is how we do an hour and 10 minutes already. I don't understand. Like I thought we do like a half hour, take some calls. Like, dude, we ran for an hour and 10 minutes.
Yeah, this one flew by.
It's crazy. Brendan McGregor. Yeah, McGregor came on, man. He seemed like he was like relentless the whole first half of last week, but I'm not sure if he showed enough to actually make the roster or to be like a practice squad guy.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, this is the thing I'm talking about. Clowney's still out there, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, that's because
same with Zadarius Smith too.
I always thought Smith was going to go back to Detroit for some reason. I thought that's kind of was a natural, fit. But
yeah, I think that was being talked about. My buddy's a big Lions fan, and he was kind of saying that like he feels, or like from what he's heard, there's been some conversations happening like behind the scenes, like okay, this is probably gonna get done at some point. Yeah, it'll just be like after the waiver cuts.
I can see that where Clowney wants to go to a playoff team. He's older, like later on in his career, he wants to play for like a legit contender. Dean Clark, I like a lot, man. He's shown a lot. He's definitely him, Jarius Monroe. The young safeties look good, but I just don't think you can keep all of them. I think they're all like practice squad. Most of them are probably practice squad, right? I can't see Clark making a team.
Yeah, no, I'm really excited about the practice squad. Especially if we could hang on to some guys like Jarius Monroe, Dean Clark, like you said, Brady Cook, Donovan Edwards, Cole Lavau is another one.
Yep.
Zaire Barnes, like McGregor, Watts. I think there's trying to think of who else. I Skinner. God, how could I forget that? Like we could have a pretty solid practice squad, man. All things considered.
Yeah. So let's they're not cutting Micah. Play couple. Yeah, you could play. I'm not opposed to paying Clowney, dude. You have the money. I wouldn't be mad at it at all. but I don't think it's going to happen. So thank you guys for joining us. We appreciate it. We're going to take calls, but it's freaking 9:10. We already did an hour, and tomorrow night we'll go crazy reacting to everything. So appreciate it. All the support. It's going to be fun. And tomorrow, I think we may argue tomorrow. Tomorrow may be the day we argue.
Yeah, that should be fun, man. We were talking about, like, I want to argue more. I don't want this show to be like an echo, like everyone's just agreeing.
Tomorrow could be the day.
All right, cool.
Thank you guys for
Looking
joining
forward
us. We'll catch you guys tomorrow night.
J-E-T-S-S-S.